More Fuzzy's taco shop.
I like breakfast tacos now.
Do you really?
Most of the time, I get some chips and queso and breakfast tacos.
That might be my new jam. I may have to try that.
Mm-hmm.
This is. We talk a lot about food, probably because I'm hungry.
I haven't eaten much yet.
No, I have to admit, I
to
cheated.
eat.
I stopped on the way here because I was dying and I have no chance.
I will forget to eat. Like if I get super busy, I will. There are days
where
I will just forget to eat, and then all of a sudden at like 9 o'clock at night, I'll be like, man, I'm really hungry. That's because I haven't eaten anything all day. I need to fix that.
Where's the nearest enchilada?
Where's the closest Fuzzy's taco to right down the
I
street?
wish that thought didn't cross my mind like every day.
I know.
Where's the nearest enchilada? Where am I gonna find it?
Hashtag where is the nearest enchilada? Yeah, that's what we're
That
after.
would be my T-shirt that I wear.
There it is. There it is. We'll make a shirt and sell them on Forthright. We have Forthright TV. Where's the nearest enchilada? There it is. A whole new marketing strategy available, coming to you soon from Forthright TV. Welcome to yet another episode of Forthright. We're glad to keep you with us. Again, it's a roundtable discussion about questions and things that you bring to us and hopefully give you a Christian perspective. Maybe be a starting point for you to have a conversation with other people. So very glad you could be with us. Do quick introductions.
I'm Ryan Oakes, pastor at Risen Savior Lutheran Church in Broomfield, Colorado.
Anthony Creedon, I'm the CEO of the Concordia Association, also Forthright. Concordia Association puts this program on.
Drew Ross, pastor of Bethlehem, Lakewood, Colorado.
And we have a roundtable discussion here, questions that you guys submit. So like if you have a question you want us to address on a future episode, please make sure that you get that to us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram using the hashtag ForthrightTV or at ForthrightTV. And maybe your question will get on the show and we'll address it and talk about it and give you maybe a place to start or a framework to have a conversation with someone else at some other time. So gentlemen, our question that we are going to address today is about guns. And this one isn't specifically addressed to us at all through social media. This is actually one that a lot of people have, since we've been doing the show and talking with people, they have asked me personally. I've got a lot of questions about, because gun control and all these ideas are really big in the media right now. Lots of conversation, Obama's gun law and his proposal for gun laws and things. So thoughts on gun control, a Christian perspective, Christians owning guns, using guns, kind of what are our thoughts? And this is a big one. This is a big one. I don't know that we're going to be able to do this one in a short amount of time, but maybe just a start, a framework.
Okay.
I've wrestled with this one, mainly because I see both sides. I understand the idea of individual Christian freedoms and your availability to own and to operate and use a gun. That's a freedom that you're afforded by living in this country. I also, and this is one of the most compelling arguments that I've heard against a lot, gun use and stuff, and so for much more strict gun laws, that it is an object that is intentionally made to harm. Like a gun has no other purpose than to destroy and to harm. Because people typically go with knives, people use knives. Should we restrict knives and have laws against knives? Knives can be used for other purposes, right? Like knives, you can, you cut things, food prep, whatever. But a gun is specifically made to shoot, whether it's hunting or whether it's, whatever. So, and those are just two.
And it appears as if, in some ways, the gun is meeting its purpose. I think its purpose is to destroy certain things. But now we're concerned about, is a gun used to hunt, or is a gun used to harm and hurt and destroy people?
Right.
And our concern is that guns are used sometimes to destroy people. Right. But otherwise, it actually is meeting its purpose.
Yeah, that's true.
I would say even in that context, it's meeting its purpose, and that purpose may be good and healthy.
In just war, he's bringing up.
It's true.
Not only just war, but also the protection of your family.
Sure.
Right.
Okay.
Defense, our police officers. Now, you compare, Britain, they may not necessarily always carry on firearms, but the use of lethal force when it comes to that decision.
Right. Defensive purposes.
So I think, I think the question is adding a framework to something is really key. So the question is, we have to assess, well, is it okay for a Christian to have a firearm or not? What does that framework look like? And I think for the Christian is, right now we don't have anything that prohibits the use in our God's word, other than maybe saying, how do we love our neighbor, and this idea of should we be peaceful people. At the same time, that may come into conflict with our callings, of being parents, to protect our children and to protect our families, or even protect yourself.
It's interesting to come at this from a Christian perspective, because it's almost hard to have a Christian frame of mind, because this is one of those issues where, there are some issues like abortion, for example, where it's in the political realm, but it also has direct connections to faith and origins. This is a little bit different in that it's a big topic issue. It doesn't so much directly play into should we have a Christian viewpoint. However, where we do, I believe, that we have a Christian viewpoint is looking at how do we value people, which is where you start to
value
talk
of
about
life.
the sanctity of life. How do we appreciate the sanctity of life? How do we protect the sanctity of life? And what do we seem to be okay in order to protect?
Right. Well, there's the old adage that I think Melanchthon coined, which is sort of this idea of the abuse doesn't nullify the use. Just because people abuse some of those things doesn't mean that they should be taken away from everybody, and kind of and it sort of causes you to think about, all right, what are the limits? What are the sort of the natural limits of some of these things? I think, there are definitely people out there who use guns for hunting for the purpose of getting food. And that's a legitimate sort of I'm hunting to get food to feed my family, right? And so you have a very clear and direct sort of a line of this weapon is being used in a way that is beneficial for my family. And I think the side or the area where this gets sort of convoluted and sort of difficult is because of all the violence that we've seen, right? The Paris attacks and the attacks in our own country and things like this, where you have these mass shootings, school shootings. Is it the role of the government to place further restrictions on those? And this is maybe where I hear the debate. Is it the role of the government to put further restriction on those and to say to the people, you cannot have these weapons, or whatever legal precedents we want to set? Or is it's legal in this country to bear arms, to have a gun, and to use it, and so it has to be up to the freedom of the citizen to do that, and there we do have people who abuse it, but just because it's abused doesn't mean we should restrict it from a governmental level on everybody.
Well, and I agree with you on those. There's a lot of questions to ask, but when you get down to it, at least in my mind, you have to look at it in two different ways. And I think sometimes Christians, we commingle these paths. The one way where God works in the right-hand kingdom that allows these things of the government and the Constitution, which clearly does say, at least in my mind, in the Second Amendment, the right to bear firearms, which typically is not, when you look at the history, was not intended for the use of hunting. I mean, it was used for hunting and stuff like that. Right. But the reason that is in there is specifically because the British government limited their use of firearms solely so that they would have the imperial control. So that's where that sneaks in there. It's not like, well, we need to hunt and all that stuff. It was, we needed to overthrow this government, now it is our right. So many Christians come from that approach, or you come from the question, as it says, how do we as Christians approach this? Living in the Second Amendment, and so what I see often is Christians using the Second Amendment as if it's almost like a commandment in that way, and commingling those two, where they see these things as parallel to each other, rather than two different components of how we can live in our life. And I think that's the tension that we find is, what is my calling here as now a citizen, where it gives me these rights? And then what is my calling as a Christian, and how do I navigate those waters with sanctity of life, with but at the same time my vocation,
So as a Christian response, it means that we would like to see, even within our laws that are created, we would like to see human life, especially, we'll just use that now, human life protected, cared for, loved, and even outside of the laws, even offered grace. So that's our Christian perspective, right?
Right.
Whatever the law is that protects God's people, serves God's people the greatest, that's what we would desire.
And that's where the debate.
And now the debate begins at the politics side,
right?
Because I believe that I can guard and protect Christian people, or not even Christian people,
right,
best with the use of a gun.
Right.
Or I believe that I can protect or keep safe people by there not being guns legally available for people.
Right. Yeah, and that's really the heart of the debate. And I think the thing that's frustrating for me the most about it is when you're going through social media and you're seeing all the people sort of comment on these things, and it really does. In some people's minds, it's so clear to them which of those two positions that they should take, whether it's no guns or allow guns, that there's a really, I would say, aggressive, violent kind of argumentation that goes on where we're sort of biting at each other rather than recognizing this isn't as clean as maybe we would like to make it be. And I don't see a whole lot of I guess grace in listening to people's positions and sort of acknowledging that, well, there's two very valid parts, like valid sides to this. And we should be listening to each other, and I'm willing to listen to those who say, hey, I don't think that guns should be allowed to be in the hands of private citizens and whatever. I mean, Obama's, I don't know if you had a chance to look at or if you've seen Obama's kind of list of things about him appointing people and restricting clips, I think, to like 10 bullets and things like that. I mean, there's a lot of things that he wants to put on there, and is that the role of the government to do? Is it not? I don't know that there's a clean answer here. And I don't
think so either. And I think there's a challenge, even with like the number of bullets, for example.
Right.
I think of this from different perspectives. So if I'm a hunter, I probably don't need any more than 10 bullets in my clip because I would expect I should be a better hunter.
I hope I'm a decent shot.
And I used to have this fear. In fact, I probably still do, somewhat of like semi-automatic weapons. However, just what you brought up, if people want to maintain their use of guns because they do have a fear of government retaliation, then if there was this big war of the people between the government's coming at you with semi-automatic weapons.
Right.
Well, the government's going at you with automatic weapons.
Right.
All you have is semi-automatic weapons.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. I wasn't even saying it right. You're right.
Which and the semi-automatic is the can't. And I think this is where there's a lot of education that has to be done because everyone throws out, assault weapons. Well, there's no actual definition for an assault weapon.
Okay.
Except this and this.
So, an assault weapon, if it looks like a terrifying assault weapon, I could have a normal hunting rifle look like an assault weapon.
Yeah. Sure.
The mechanism that loads the bullet into the chamber, that's what actually makes it semi-automatic. That after each trigger, it loads up a gun. Otherwise, you're using the bolt action.
Bolt action,
And so that's what makes it semi-automatic.
I probably would know this if I was a sci-fi guy.
These are all tricks of the trade.
But I think aren't we having trouble answering this question because just what we've said, the Christian response is, and what means do we need to protect people, to serve people, and to love people? Yeah. And so it's us. We need to be married to that correct theology.
Right.
But now we're going to disagree, and you're going to disagree over how to accomplish that.
Right. Yeah, because love thy neighbor is not specific on guns or, any of these things. It's just simply the command, to love thy neighbor. And
in the message, I think it might have said, love your neighbor and use weapons.
Use weapons to do that.
It says
that was the message extreme.
Right. Yeah, I think I really think, and this is, I guess, where maybe I want to go with this or end with this is of the people who have asked me, and I've had a lot of people sort of ask me how does Christianity view the gun issue? I think ultimately that's where it comes down to is what best loves your neighbor. And if you hold to one side or another, I think you're okay there. I think as long as you're within the bounds of godly behavior and desiring to love and serve the neighbor, I think you can be on a position of being pro-guns or being anti-guns and still be squarely in the realm of Christian faith. Yeah. And there's no required side of Christianity. And it's not some sort of biblical mandate on the use of guns. So I think
what I think we should say is be nice on social media.
Yes.
Don't
yes,
become
please.
that guy.
Don't
be a
lady.
jerk.
Yeah.
Don't be that person on social media. Have conversation instead.
Yeah, talk.
Yeah.
Absolutely have.
I think that's really the key, is where you see a lot of the disagreement happening is because of mistrust of each other, and so there's this, and not really listening to each other and thinking the other person's lying through their teeth.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think this is where, when we need to talk face to face. Actually, Obama just did that yesterday, I believe, or a couple weeks ago, or whenever we post this, or a year from now. But he had the gun advocates actually talk to him about their questions, and they actually listened to him, but there was this hint of suspicion that he's lying to them somehow.
Sure.
And I think that's the climate that we live in when we talk about these hot button issues, that there's not a clear answer for in that regard.
Which I think it makes all the more case for real dialogue.
Yeah.
Right.
Not just
like
a Q&A.
a pithy, sort of a post on Facebook or whatever. I mean, if you really want to affect change and you want things to happen in a godly way, that has to happen through honest, straightforward communication, and it can't just be, me sitting on the sidelines and shots over the bow with, some meme or whatever. I think engage in honest conversation about it, and honestly seek to do what is the godly thing and what best loves your neighbor, and allow for there to be some wiggle room in that. Allow for people to have those different viewpoints, and so maybe I think you're right. I think that's probably where we ultimately sort of come out on this thing. So
sanctity of life. Look at it through the sanctity of life, and there may be differing views. And second of all, don't be a jerk.
Don't be a jerk. I think that's in the Bible, isn't it? It's somewhere.
No, it's not in there.
No.
No, it's in the extreme version.
You can be a jerk. You can be a jerk. Don't shoot people.
Just don't shoot people.
You can be a jerk.
It's in third Hezekiah. Look it up.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for that. Again, if you have any other questions or additional comments, which I'm sure many people do, make sure you get that to us: Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. #ForthrighTV or @ForthrighTV. Would love to hear your thoughts on it. All right, guys. Get to know you, Drew. Why don't you do the honors? Grab one for us.
There we go. All right, this question is, before ministry, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Have I grown up yet?
No.
Okay.
So, Ryan, before ministry, what did you want to be when you grew up?
This is the guy with the Atari t-shirt.
Yep.
I haven't grown
that's
up
right.
yet. I haven't grown up yet. Not yet.
You want to work on Atari?
Someday.
I actually, I wanted to be an actor, of all things.
Like stage or movie?
I don't know. I like stage.
Yeah.
So you wanted to be the kind that made less money,
Yeah.
but enjoyed the craft.
Yes, the craft.
And looked
But then
down
I realized
on the film
I'm not
actors,
that good at the craft. But I still enjoy theater.
Yeah.
And But so I wanted to be an actor. I do remember telling my dad, because this was in like middle school.
Right.
So,
Sure.
and hey, Dad, I want to be an actor. And my dad was like, you know how much they really get paid.
You should be a pastor instead.
Well, actually,
very lucrative business.
And here's the thing: the next year, I was like, I want to be a pastor. So I'm talking to Dad, I want to be a pastor, and my dad was like,
maybe you should be an actor.
sure, and that's what he said. He said, maybe you should be an actor.
That is awesome.
You know how much they get paid?
Maybe you should be an actor.
Yeah.
I like it.
Drew, what was yours?
Mine's nothing crazy, nothing all that cool. It's almost typical boy. I wanted to be either a fireman or a soldier, and obviously I didn't do either one of those, but I've always been carrying this guilt actually my whole life by I was never in the military, and I have this guilt.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's been active in my life. I think I should have been military. But never mind, I won't even say this part. I have a big butt to that statement, but I won't make it here because I don't want it to be recorded.
That's the perfect response.
Yeah.
That's it. Ooh, well, we may have to get that off camera.
Yeah.
I was going to draw. This shouldn't surprise you at all. I was going to draw comic books.
Really?
That's what I was going to do. I had taken like every art class in high school that was offered. They were making up classes for me.
Really?
Yeah, because there was nothing else for me to take.
The guy with the Atari shirt wanted to make
draw comic books.
What?
Nice.
Surprise! Said no one. So I was gonna I was totally lined up. Like the teacher that was my high school had me lined up for I was going to go to the Chicago Institute of Art and Design or Cincinnati Institute, which are very prestigious art schools. Where I was going to have interviews there. He knew people. I mean, I was doing all the right things. And then I went to one of the LCMS's National Youth Gatherings, and it totally flipped my world around. And I was like,
really?
Yep, I did. I was on one of the stage plays.
Yeah.
And then we did communion, and I have this very vivid memory of sort of looking around and like seeing like 20-some thousand people taking communion. And it just it hit me really hard. And I remember going back to my seat, and I sat down and I prayed and I said, Lord, if whatever has to happen for me to have the opportunity to bring people to something like this, I'm in. Like, I want to do it.
Maybe you could have written comic books about communion.
Yeah.
That would have been intense.
So
CPH, I'm sure.
No. So at seminary, we turned professors into comic book heroes.
Do you
remember that?
I remember this.
Yeah.
I remember this.
Yeah, me and another guy, we turned professors into comic book heroes and put it in the newspaper, and that was totally
We're awesome.
Because pastors and professors at seminaries, of all the people in the world that deserve to be superheroes, it's us. We are having. They had like totally theologically nerdy superpowers. It was something else. But yeah, that's what I wanted to be, comic book artist. Yeah, I still draw. I still love to do stuff like that. But yeah, so so that's again a little bit more about us. Again, we want to thank you for tuning in, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Again, anything, questions, comments, other kind of get to know you questions, please make sure you get that to us: Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, #ForthrighTV or @ForthrightTV. We look forward to hearing from you, and we will see you next time.
Cheers.
Fuzzies.